Hello, everyone, and welcome to another show of The Lifting. Today's recording happened on the 4th of May, 2025. And so today I'm actually going to start this conversation off with some interesting things that are going on, maybe a little bit of finger to the wind to see how the energies are working and what's going on. And so I look forward to having this conversation today. But first,
I now open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time.
and so with blessings, we are all one. And when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved one, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now with no conflicting agenda to come in and join us for this conversation. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous beings right now to be swept away so that we can have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we'll say, so be it.
And so be it.
So in general, we're going to start this off. Chris has not heard this yet before. We're going to start this off with something that I've noticed this before, but it really noticed it a lot throughout the night last night. Things that were happening. I think, again, things that I may be seeing or experiencing are either known or unknown to others out there having a similar experience, whether they know or don't know that this kind of stuff is going on. So I always like to bring it to light. And I think it has increased. So what happened last night for me is that I kept waking up. And as I was waking up, as I've said before many times, I always end up, having something play out while my eyes are closed. Something is playing out. And again, I've always likened it to, I think, what's being streaming down upon people, what people are being subjected to. The interesting thing about what was going on all throughout the night last night was that it kind of was coming through as a large eye. Now, it would make you think that maybe this large eye was attached to a bigger being. Have no idea. But this large eye, the interesting thing that was going on was what kind of the eye itself was focusing on. Now, I'm going to tell you, I didn't just take this eye as being benevolent. I'm just going to let you know that. There was something about it. It's a feeling that I get, whether I feel something is neutral, I don't care, or I don't care for it. This was I don't care for it. And it was concentrating on words that were written, that were revolving around. The interesting thing about it is that even in this awakening, I'm like, I can't see those words clearly. I don't know what's being said. But while this was going on, I also knew from within me that my subconscious was seeing it. Okay, so that the interesting thing about this whole dynamic was having something with an eye itself focusing up on these words that cannot be seen, constantly spinning around. It reminds me a little bit about the conversation that we'd have about the subliminal messaging and different things that are going on that we do believe happen with electronics, with your, TVs. The interesting thing again about this is this happened all throughout the night that I was kind of seeing this. So I thought it was interesting. And two things come to mind. What in the world was that all about? Is it what I think it was again? And if it's happening to me, it's happening to others as well. And what is the aim of this particular, I call it broadcast? So I wanted to have this conversation with Chris, kind of an impromptu one with this, because I really would like, there's another angle to this, why I am waited to bring this up and bring it up live to see what, we can all figure out about this, is because there is, again, conversation about plenty of rule breaking, let's say, going on, and the consequences of rule breaking if it is seen and understood. So I believe there may be some of this also going on, and talking about it to try and help end some of this is also an aim that I have. So understanding what's going on, is it in conflict with the current rules and guidelines that all must supposedly obey to, because some won't, but there is a clause in there. If there are things broken, there are groups awaiting to be able to come in to stop it. So that's kind of where we are, with this. It's an interesting topic because there's been a lot of drama going on today as well. We wanted to record several things today on this one day. We wanted to take as a really true work day and go through a lot of information. But I have to say, the interesting part about today has been the amazing amount of people that are vying for Chris's attention. Chris is often, this is a weekend, Chris is often say, please let our weekends be our weekends, because we do things like this. We do work ourselves. We try to go out and have relaxing time. We try to do these things. But today has been a very interesting day as far as the numbers. I mean, sheer numbers of people that are trying to get their energies focused on Chris, which is a no-no, by the way. You don't do this to channelers. In some sort of, extreme emergency from their perspective. I have a feeling some of this is what's all about.
Yes, it's called the mouth, or we nicknamed it the mouth. And if anybody also out there seems to have these images of like a mouth in their head, like talking to them and stuff like that. Yes, there's demonic sources behind this. Yes, there's some AI and V2K behind this, but there's something a little more malicious. It's kind of like that same AI that gets into your head when you look at Facebook and the ad pops up and all this other stuff. How they hear you, it's mainly out of hearing, that hears you speak, like your phones hear you speak. And it can get into your dreams and all this other such. But one really good example that I use of that was and I said this on a broadcast not too long ago, where the guy that was having a dream, of some like sex toy model, and then he wakes up and then that model's on Facebook and he's like all amazed and wowed. Yeah, because it got into your head. But this goes into other territory. This bleeds over because one follows the other one here. This bleeds over into slightly different territory, and you've heard us do the broadcasts on the bad effects of good intentions. You've heard us repetitiously talk about this, and what this means is. And I'm not putting down people's different either existential crises or what they considered emergency is. And I'm going to end up having to spell this out again because today, I must say, the volume has not been that high in over a year or two. This has been like a couple of times this past week where there has been groups of people sending me help me messages. And again, this is why sessions are there. It is for that particular purpose. But if you send the thing ahead of time, I end up having to take care of it because of the fact that, think of it this way. Remember what was said in channel on multitudes of shows here in the past, where when you see, you're there. Think of that concept for a minute and think if you have this big psionic capability, and this is what they showed in Dune, where the priestess was trying to get Paul Atreides to put his hand in the box and feel pain but not cry out. This is the concept where a set of psionic abilities can make something go boom. They did this in the secret space program. They curated people to actually do that. So planets and moons vaporize. There's this spot on the moon that has a pyramid that's made of honeycombs, where they would put a child in there and make them have that scared reaction to where if they saw the thing would get vaporized. You saw that in Star Trek Discovery with the kid that actually lost his mind because his mother dies and he causes the great burn. That is an actual psionic effect, folks. This is what I'm referring to, is this flashpoint type of. And what ends up happening when you're focusing on that person, this is also basic telepathy as well. All of that is coming with it. Even if you're just asking the person for help, gently, whatever it is you're concerned about. This is going with it. It's just like some insiders have said, where they entered into a room full of aliens and they were upset. The person was upset and they hadn't regrounded yet. The aliens, when they say hello, when you say hello, they hear oh, The same thing with Charles J. Hall and the Tall Whites when he was thinking, oh, I'm going to shred this garbage and throw it away. The Tall White thought it was about them and they retaliated. These are the types of effects I'm talking about. This is more direct, though. This is human to human. And what the mouth will do in this instance will get a group of people, and because it hurts more en masse, like two or more walk in my name concept where people gather and they co-create something. What this does is the mouth will whisper in their ear or scream in their ear or do whatever. They will get them all, and they will get them all to communicate with you. What this actually does is then, after a while, there's like a dozen people all doing this. I've told the famous, still not the famous, but the infamous story from when we said we were going on vacation to Vegas and not to do that, and not to communicate with us in that time. And then all of a sudden I'm getting this frantic phone call from somebody that I didn't even know, had not communicated with, not arranged sessions with, had no correspondence with at all. It was like, oh my God, thank you for answering my call. I was like, no, I'm going to have to end this now. We're on vacation. And this person was so like distraught and everything. Never heard of this from this person in my life. And I said, no, those echoes are hurting me. Oh no, I'm not doing it. Yes, you are. Also, there might be I do want to explain one little side note on this. If I'm telling you you have an altar that's in you that is actually doing this to me, I need this to be believed, and that means your oversoul and avatar are in harmonious synchronicity, and the oversoul then can take care of it. But the avatar must be cognizant that this activity is actually going on. The same goes with the mouth. The same goes with focusing this activity. You must be cognizant of it. You must believe this, and then the oversoul will end up handling the rest of it. But at the same time, this is what's occurring. Especially with this last one, it was literally like a nuclear missile had literally hit on this end. It tore a hole through here, opened a portal, and what was on all of these people's ends dumped in our space. And it's literally like you just flushed the toilet and the sewer pipe carried it onto our end. And everyone listening, again, I'm not belittling anybody's individual situations. I know these are compartmentalized. I know for a fact these are compartmentalized, but you are speaking with one voice. The mouth is having you speak with one voice, even if you don't know you're speaking with one voice. And that the disharmony then spills onto our property. I end up having to deal with each one of those individually to make it stop. And then I end up having to communicate with each one of those people to tell them that they are doing this. And some are louder than others. Sometimes it's just one person that starts it, and then it turns into a slip and slide or shoots and ladders. And I end up having to completely turn what we're going to do in a day to correct those things. I'm asking that each individual person, when you are requesting a session, when you are needing assistance, please refine the emails to needing assistance, and then we'll schedule the day, and then don't explain the entire thing. You're more than welcome to do that within session. Absolutely, that is the space for it. I carve out a safe space for it. Basically, like you hear me say, I'm the circle of true benevolence, no conflicting agendas. This is what I do in that space, and I carve out a space and like a little area, kind of like Dr. Strange in his mirror dimension kind of thing. This is what I'm doing. If you do it at any other time, I may be caught off guard. We might be out doing something. Even if it might be innocent, even if you, oh my God, I'm so sorry, the damage is done. So I'm asking that you please, this is coming from a personal request from myself, please confine these things to sessions. And I know it is a strong push. It is so strong to basically go almost into prayer mode where you're hoping that I'll answer the message, hoping that I'm doing something. I literally hear and feel every molecule of that. I cannot have it happen or it will drive me insane. So I must, and I end up repeating this at the conference as well for a short period, but if I have to repeatedly say this, I will. But these are literally the effects. And I know your situation's not judging, but this is what took place today. And I realized there was another force that instigated this. It's the whole fireman and arsonist thing, trying to wear me out, and it's trying to get to me and trying to get to yourselves as well. Don't listen to it. And don't hold on to something waiting for the session either. You find a way to deal with it. Don't just hold something in place, go, oh my God, I gotta. Please don't do that either. I realize your situations are your own. Your situations are crises to you. But to me, I have a certain set of criteria that actually are emergencies. That, like, if aliens are beating your door down, military is beating your door down, Draco are ripping the door off of your house or something like that. I literally had one of those types call me. That is an emergency. Things like constant, like a push of like creepy thoughts or something like that. That is genuine. If it's just a shadow walking around in your house, that's not an emergency. And it may be creepy, but it's not an emergency.
So this is all about what we've said before. There really is what we call a spiritual hygiene issue and a spiritual way to conduct yourself. There is no way we as a group are going to move forward into telepathy until certain ground rules are established and respected and understood. So again, although Chris is utilizing some personal experiences to talk about this, he's not the only one, let's just say, experiencing things like this that happened to him. If you put yourself out there to be a channeler, to be someone who helps clean or whatever, this happens. And so again, you have to understand, if you can believe in part of these energetics, you need to understand the whole side of it so that, again, you know how to conduct yourself. And so you have to really understand how all these things work. And again, as I've said for many times, no one is beyond being used, right? No one has gotten to that level of not being able to accidentally be used as a Trojan horse for something else. And so you have to understand it. So if you're dealing with anybody who says, I don't do things on weekends, right? I don't do things after this hour. You need to, give me information right at your channel time. I'm not going to be pre-looking into things or whatever. You're supposed to respect that. Mm-hmm. That is, no different than whatever rules you have in your life for people communicating with you. You don't want people just knocking on your door at any time of the day asking for something. And so you have to have generalized respect. The truth of the matter is, even though Chris says what an emergency is, I get the fact that your perspective is going to be different on what an emergency is.
Of course.
But the bottom line is this. You must respect people's private time. You must understand when you should and how you should communicate with people. And again, and a lot of people, as we said before, do not understand that they do have strong psionics. It's not like, well, I can do this and I can do that, but I didn't know I was doing that. Well, I'm going to put it to you bluntly. If you can do this and you can do that, you can do this other as well.
Like if you're picking up on certain things and you're already communicating with beings and such, this actually means you already have an extremely active psionic field. Imagine a high beam on a truck at night or something like that. Like if somebody has an old pickup and it's aimed at you. Do you want those high beams blinding you? That's exactly what it is. I realize the mouth is making this seem, and other beings are making this seem like this is this big existential crisis, like this is the worst thing you've ever seen or felt. But I honestly have to say there are 1,000 cases, literally, that I've seen that all cookie cutter exactly the same.
Well, because of where
the mouth is getting you to think it's only you.
It is, and it's not really true.
Yeah.
However, the bottom line is, just like you do with a doctor, just like you do with other people, you are given a period of time that you can communicate with somebody, and that's when you're going to do it. It's all of this other stuff. It's not right. If you have 10 people in the world who can do something, and if that's all, and then 7 billion tried to communicate, it's not going to work. So there is hygiene issues, there is respect and responsibility, and learning how to do these things. We are going to expect it to be honored and done. And I wish to say this wouldn't, but if you cannot, then you and we are not meant to communicate anymore. If I'm supposed to show due respect to you and what you're going through, okay, and make out time to try to help you, you must also show respect to us when we're trying to have either downtime or trying to have time to create. We're not at people's beck and calls. I understand that some things that may be brand new to somebody are the biggest deal in the world, but as we've said many a time, it's just that you know about it. It's not that that it basically is new. It is so not new. You know about it. Basic primal fear will set in, thinking that it's going to destroy whatever. Nope. But it will feed off your fears.
It's that fight or flight that it's being fed off of. Yeah.
So you have to understand these concepts, and then understand that there's a reason why a lot of people who do these types of work do not come forward, and this is part of the why. But you want people like this to be able to come forward to help people out. But then there must be dignity and respect that occurs, just as you would want dignity and respect for yourself. You must learn that these people deserve dignity and respect. Follow the rules. Follow the things that are being said to give space and boundary that is needed, and then everything can work fine. There are going to be people that, because they don't believe in boundary and respect, they do this intentionally to be a Trojan horse to let things in. Sometimes they do it unknowingly as a Trojan horse to let things in. And if you cannot learn and respect, you will, whether you know it or not, have to be blocked in a way, because it is so disruptive.
That, and also I know back in the old New Age teachings and the metaphysical teachings, people were taught to always constantly give and give and give of themselves, and this goes back to Christianity as well, and other old world religions as well. But in the New Age movement, people were taught that they had to just keep doing this, and that they were always at the beck and call, and there was psychic emergencies all the time. And I've run into this in that group, and then I end up looking like the outlier that doesn't do it correctly. No, they were not doing it correctly. They were not setting boundaries. And the opening of the closing of the circle falls under this as well, where we said there was somebody wandering the psychic fair that was doing mini reads and stuff. This falls under that same category, or tarot reads that somebody's rapid firing them. This falls under the same category, because of the fact doing that, you're actually hurting other people if you are not taking the time to clean yourself off and clean the environment. This is why I do only one session a day. So if I sound irritated, I am, because of the repetitious nature of why we have to keep saying this.
Well, because, no offense, guys, it happens a lot.
It happens a lot.
Too much.
Way too much.
And so someone has to be, in this instance, the first wildebeest crossing the stream in order to say there must be rules,
boundaries,
and must be respect, and must be boundaries, as if this was no other type, of things that are out there. It's no different than going to the doctor or the dentist. And you're going to wait. There may be dentists or doctors who have emergency time again, but in general, you don't see it.
And then in times where I did give in, and this person's like, please, you must help me, please. And I looked into it, and it wasn't all that much. This isn't arrogance or ego talking. This is literal experience. This is just experience talking, where I'm not putting down anybody's situations because they suck. I'm just saying that. But I've looked the one or two times that I have actually given in the past, they were barely anything, and it was just it was nothing. There was like one had a shadow running through their house that ended up being a gnome. There wasn't really anything going on there other than the fact that he was being seen, and the person just didn't want him there. That was just creeping around. I said, that's not an emergency. And they're like, well, by whose meter, basically? And I said, by the one you're calling for help. I have to be able to, as a professional, I have to judge that situation. The other one was just sounds in the night. There wasn't really anything there. It ended up being just a house creaking. It was nothing.
So again, Chris is kinder about this than I actually am going to be, because we've said this a lot.
Mhm.
Dealing with us, there will be respect and boundaries shown. And if it cannot be done, if for some reason you don't feel these rules apply to you, if for some reason, you are knowingly doing it intentionally, you will and should be blocked because you are not showing the proper respect to another human being. This will be a big deal as people move forward and their abilities start to open more, because it can be painful and it could cause a lot of problems. So again, you may think, whatever, she's just bloviating, he's just bloviating, whatever you want to say. I'm guaranteeing you, I can predict this easily. This will become a big deal as people move forward.
Mhm.
And again, we would like to see more people with skills come out into the open to make themselves available to help. But there must be dignity, there must be a respect for their time. And again, I understand the fact that something that you're discovering for the first time that you didn't know was there, you're thinking that it's a dire emergency. I'm telling you, it's been there. This is nothing new. And the goal is to help you. But again, you have to kind of wait your turn and you have to show appropriate respect. The one thing that I would say to people, that again, if you can see or whatever, then you actually are a person with the potential to send out strong energy waves. You need to, as we've said before, part of it is if you're glaring out too much to people, if you are out there glowing and showing, you need to bring those energies back in closer to you, and you need to see yourself cloaked.
And also,
don't advertise yourself to have, things come at you. Number one. Number two, if you've been told before to tune it down, you need to respect that. Meaning, if you send a text off, if you send an email off, you send it off as a small drip of water going through, not as a fire hose blaring. And again, you may not know what I'm saying. I'm saying you better have the real intention and mean it, that I'm sending this off as a drop of water. I am not sending it off as a blaring hose. That's what I'm saying. You have to consciously say and understand that if I have this, I do not want to be disruptive. Thus, I am intentionally saying I'm sending this off this way. I am not trying to interfere. I am not trying to interrupt. I would like this piece of information to quietly get to somebody when it is their moment that they can do it. But if you've been asked to not email, not text, not do things like that, then I suggest you honor the other person by not doing it, and only doing it as the request was, only on a certain day, only on a certain time, however it is. Again, this is not just related to what we are dealing with, other people are as well.
Mhm.
You need to learn to respect those boundaries.
There was a couple psychics on Facebook I noticed that were having the same issues. Like, guys, the one said, guys, I just literally got a time to go on vacation and do stuff with the family, and that's when you're sending me all this. You don't send it when we actually need to have you do it. You're doing it all in one chunk. What the hell, guys? And then I explained this same thing to that particular person on Facebook, and a couple of others as well, because others are running into this as well. It's not just us. And I mean, this was almost at random. I know Spirit led us to this particular concept because, I know the mouth instigates some of this, but at the same time, it takes humans to self-farm it. And I know, again, the New Age movement made it to where, everybody was giving and giving and giving and giving and not taking any breather or break in there. This is where the buck stops here, pretty much, because this is a time for change. We're at a fork in the road that we have to initiate these boundaries, and this is an absolute must. And I know people are more thinking it was like it was in the old days, and even I went along with this in the old days. I can't go along with that anymore. This must be confined to the session or a time I designated. I'll be more than happy to do some of these things in the times that I carve out. The fact that also we're getting more and more people, also thanks to the disclosure movement, we've gotten some new people, and I know some of you are unaware of the rule book here. So, and I know you're probably going off of an old rule book or an old foundation of some kind. Just know that this is the way this is going, and I'm literally not the only one that says it's
No, not at all. And
Not
in
at
fact, regular people, for example, you could be a type of person that people tend to come to you with their problems. You've opened yourself up to be someone to consult with, someone to talk to, do whatever. Set boundaries. Because again, if you have those skills, you also have other skills. And the bottom line is, this is a Trojan horse method to wear you down,
Yeah.
to actually do this. So people in general that may be ones that have just made themselves available to friends, families, others, and this, that, and the other, this applies to you too. You must set boundaries so that you can have renewal of yourself.
Yes.
It just is that simple, and it's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger as we move forward. So we need to go ahead and start discussing this now. And so just be aware. But what I really would like, some galactic contribution again about really what was I seeing, and talk about, let's say, finger to the wind. How is this now being pumped at people? Is it stronger? Are energies still thinning to a place where that's being allowed? And lastly, what accord is being broken with them doing this now that we're calling them out?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because I have felt in the time we've been discussing this, somebody out there has been very, very angry at this discussion. I mean, on the bad side of the spectrum. And somebody else out there is actually very thankful that this is being brought up because of the fact that and I, if somebody does this more so, that of the new crowd. Just know this is the link of the show that you will be given, because this is where it is being described. So people are wanting me to constantly describe it in detail past this point. I'm not going to do that, because this is where this is. Also, we said it a little bit of it in the intro video that you see at the top of the lifting.net website. You see at the corner of the screen here. Some of it was said there too. It's also being said here. I will flag this as more of a priority video for those of you that are just starting out with us. Again, if this is the first thing you're seeing and you're seeing us irritated and it's putting you off, sorry, not sorry, because of the fact that there has been so much before us of a tale woven or a tapestry woven that you do not know about or know not about. So this is why we are asking this of people, to please make sure that you abide by this. And some of the new people, absolutely, you have been wonderful. The people that have actually even bothered to ask me about this in session, everything, thank you. Basically also said, good, somebody's finally establishing boundaries. Those people, thank you. You get it, because you probably had people do it to you too. Okay, we're at this point here. So, okay, let's see. I would assume it's either Isaac, Elaine, and Vesta, Forest people. I know Chrome was on our previous thing we were doing today. Okay, Isaac, yes. All right. Ooh. Also, it makes my blood pressure go up, as you can tell. You see this red? That's and it's like my shirt. This happens when we've had to deal with stuff. So I look like I've been in the sun too long. So all right. Let's see. Yes, everything that you two have said, good. This is good and correct. The reason that he has outbursts on this level is because the energy, once, how can I explain this properly with physics of where you understand? The energy, like in channel, like what I am doing currently, goes through the same energy centers, regardless of whether it is being arced through the crystal, as I am currently coming through, and here, it is through here, but it goes up through the spine and outward. It owes the same way where it goes through the back, the support center, and up. Even though this energy is coursing through the crystal, from his perspective, it looks like it's being coursed through the chest and up this way because of the crystal. It's always through back here. In sessions, it's the same way. When you are having to deal with a problem, it still courses through you first. You learned this from a friend of yours at the conference last year. This happens each and every single time. This is why it is so taxing, and like a bell being rung, it vibrates. Or a gong. This is why he says he's being gonged or pinged. Ping is more of an internet term or router to router term. Ping. And you're pinging through Wi-Fi. That's the newest term for gonging somebody. So pinging someone. He likes to say pinging your amygdala. That's because he got it from beings out there in the galaxy. What it's doing, that goes up the spine, it hits the third eye, the higher reasoning center, and the amygdala is right there. What does this do? Down through the body and wears you out, like a gong being rung several times, or a bell being rung, or like they always say about the moon, it rang like a bell when a ship crashed on it, kind of thing. It's the same thing. That concussion must go somewhere. It's like sound waves or light waves. It must go like a ripple on a pond. And it is essentially a form of channeling. And it's a form of energy work that is taking place. This can be absorbed by the liver, and also subsequently the stomach. All of it then go off. And then eventually you come up with ghost poo that has to actually be the manifestation. In some instances, I shouldn't say has to, is the manifestation of that energy. This can cause irritable bowel, Crohn's, things of that nature. It can cause a variety of different diseases after a while. And some people it cause cancers, things of that nature. This is how serious it can get. So it is. I'm very thankful that you are saying these boundaries. I even said to him years ago when he began this conversation, do you have the cojones to actually get on and tell people to stop doing this? Some people take it harshly. Some people do not. Some people get it. Some people are on the fence because they learned from a different source that was always telling them that this was an acceptable bit of behavior. Kind of like the warnings before the spells, they would make something that didn't have proper instructions like we discussed in the past. The whole Doctor Strange effect thing, well, that too, but that is also a teaching, whereas this, he brought the Doctor Strange effect because he named it, the whole thing with the hands, where he was allowed to be a wizard but couldn't heal his hands. Or could heal his hands but couldn't be a wizard, kind of thing. That's a load of horse shit. It's one or the other. Yes, is there a give and take like in The Witcher where the girl's hands got burned and fell off because she accessed her body's energy versus that of the environment or the surrounding? That's actually a true concept. The deterioration of pathways, the deterioration both mental and physical and spiritual, energetic, because of the fact that either a door has been open too long, of a DMT drip, like he learned at the conference, where you can minimize that, but once the conduit has been established, even by another, this is why he is saying it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, because that is the rule book that has been established. All sides involved. This is a template. What happens in a situation like this? Excuse a second. What happens in a situation like this? Then it must run the course and be dealt with. So I am also asking that in these situations where their numbers of people grow, you do not know how many people they have spoken to even in a single day, even in a single hour. So anyone that hears this in the future, now or in the future, you must treat this as a doctor's appointment and honor the time frame by which then is established. And I know the mouth and other sources out there, it's more than one source, is trying to get you to either miss the session or miss that conduit. Once you've established this is why he's established it at a singular time, because it's easier to do this. Now, will the mouth try to disrupt things like that if it just was established in the evening and make a bunch of crap or things happen in the beginning. Yes, but in this also sometimes scheduling things, the AI will try to latch onto it and fuck with it. And as a business person and as like a physician has to have a schedule. That's impractical to do everything random. Again, that's what was taught in the New Age movement where everything, oh, it's whatever time everybody is there. That's the Native American way of doing it as well. But in nowadays, yes, you have to honor that, but you also have to honor yourselves by decompression. Allow those that help you to help themselves by allowing them the decompression period. Do not always ring them or ping them, excuse me. You must honor that time frame. Now, if there is an emergency, this is why a real one, a genuine one, I would tear him a new one if he didn't honor the fact that you were going through something legitimate. We kind of know when something's real's going on, even if there's a delay, and he can feel as if it's like if somebody oversleeps or somebody does something like that. This is all designed to disrupt that conduit and leave chunks and little bits of crap in his energy and yours. When that connection's been made, it must be honored. The rotation must be honored in order to complete that circle. If it is not, and even if it is closed and cut off, there's still something looming like the sword of Damocles, and it could pop up later in another form. That energy could regurgitate and pop up later in some other form, either misfortune, curse-like, and or, how can I put this kindly? And or something worse that's in your situation. If you've established this already, honor it in whatever way you need to. I'm not trying to ingratiate myself onto their finances or their energetic needs. I'm stating a well-known fact in the energetic circles. Once something's been established, you have to correct this, or else it harms both sides of the conduit. I'll go into questions.
So, okay, so let's go to my what I was actually seeing. So I was literally seeing, not a mouth, just to make that clear. I was seeing an eye, and again,
Same difference.
Circling. No, I know, but people are going to be literal. So my point is, again, although it was called the mouth, we're really talking about a communication is coming your way by
yeah.
For, and it's usually related to, now this is where I want to know, is it usually related to, again, AI, artificial, I'm putting this broadcasting message out, this is how I want to affect people as a generalized broadcast?
Yes and no. In some cases, yes, like a watchdog type of AI. In some instances, it's a remote viewer, like the eyes are usually remote viewers, but it's still a form of like the mouth dicking with people. Sometimes it's like something like a Draco that has a psionic enhancer or a person that has a psionic enhancer. Yes, I distinguish between person and Draco, not trying to goat their attention. Just saying that it is some kind of consciousness that has AI involved in it, that they are using this like V2K. V2K is responsible for a lot as well. It's done in a particular frequency harmonic that can either take the shape of a mouth or an eyeball. An eyeball usually means somebody is looking. What you do is you just take a big needle in your mind and just shove it straight through the eye. That or a big mirror, black mirror, he calls it the dark mirror, and he throws it directly at them. And it's like lighting a gunpowder trail back to. Essentially, there's virtually almost no words needed for this. You visualize a mirror, go boop. If it's a signal, go for your ear, mirror, boop, go right back to it. This has an instantaneous effect. In some cases. Now with the mouth, it constantly revs up the volume. If you speak back to it and go, mother, fucking shut up, it will get louder. The way you disengage the mouth is the inhalum or the calm. But it still doesn't mean that you don't put up a mirror. The eyeball, with the mouth, mirror, but also the eye, mirror. These are time-honored usages of this. I know the mouth is whispering in your ears. This is why you have to use EMF cloth or some kind of EMF protector. This falls under that spectrum. It's coming through your towers and your technology. But it still doesn't mean that an entity or a person can't be on the other end of that.
True, and it is causing some people's ringing of the ears.
Yeah, it's the tinnitus,
I
yes.
think people need to understand that. Some people that suffer. So, if you have a period like you're going to bed or something and that tinnitus is going through the roof, it may be an enhancement of energies being beamed your way.
And through directed energy weapon, microwave weapons, that the Havana syndrome stuff, that's part of it too.
Right. So these things actually are happening. So the interesting thing, I guess, what I am also trying to allude to, because I thought today, what was going on, was interesting to say the least. That's the kindest thing I can say. So, and the fact so many people were involved in it unknowingly. Now, the one thing we do know is that we do believe that this was basically unknowingly, like, again, as I said, kind of a Trojan horse kind of thing going on. So so that's why we want to bring this up so much, because it really does happen. And people, again, they don't really realize, people that come in positions like this, how many people are actually thinking of them all at the same time. It's an amazing thing. Some people like that worship energy. We do not. So
And yes, and the mouth also will get people to block people unjustly as well. And also the worship energy, back to that. What happened to said beings that got worshipped? They became slovenly and fat for a little while because they got fat off of it. Think how Thor looked in Endgame and also Love and Thunder. This is what I'm talking about, and also the gods that you saw that were all slovenly and everything in Love and Thunder, and they got killed by Christian Bale's character. The God Killer. That's the kind of crap I'm talking about right there. And this did happen. You never want to send that or be in awe of or idolization of anyone or anything. It's one thing being like kind of in awe of a situation or happy and joyful of a synchronistic communication or anything of that nature. That is a wonderful thing. Do not start aiming that at somebody or you will turn them into something else if you start doing this. Kind of like it's, I nickname it the guru complex. Whereas what happens if you do that? You start to, it's not really guru, it's a guru worship complex, I should call it. There's a difference between a guru that is informing people and a guru complex, or a guru worship complex, where in fact they are taking that on. And there's also a difference between them and an entertainer. So, or like a Cagliostro type effect, named for the Black Magic movie with Orson Welles, where he got the big head and he could control even world events with his voice. Things of that nature. Somebody starts to gain some kind of standing. There was even a famous story out there where somebody had something weird happen to their hand in an alien abduction sequence, and it made some weird sound, and they just went and started doing a performance with it, and the aliens got upset. That one was actually entertaining. It's also kind of like the whole Shazam thing, where he was misusing the powers to do entertaining people with the lightning from his hands and everything. That kind of crap. People would start to do that, like pushing a force field or something. Ooh, what's this? And he always sees that. That's also why some of that tech is not out there, by the way. But I'm just saying that this happens this way, where, and I'm not saying this to ingratiate myself on anyone, yourselves, or anybody. But when you get into a public figure status, you'll also get people that are butthurt by this and not. They'll think, oh, they're not being metaphysical or new age enough. Fine, that's the splitting of the densities at that point. But in this, the ones that remain can be part of that circle. Now, you can intuit anything in between, that something might be trying to get you to block somebody good. The mouth does this too, and so do negative entities. They will want you to do that because you'll start to hear that get louder on that end and wondering why they've been blocked. This has happened a couple of times, but now there is a difference between those, that one could become worse. Now, if you have your social media accounts, only have on there what you feel is necessary for you to have on there. not anything and everything. And this applies to literally every single social media platform, from Facebook to X to Blue Sky to all of these things, or Threads, or any of them that have a name. You must adhere to this if you are an energy worker. Some people don't experience this or understand or feel this. Right, that's fine. I'm applying it to only the ones that feel it and see it. All those entanglements on social media, you don't really need all that. You need to do business, but also, I think I'll say it to every single person then. You might want to sometimes minimize your time on there, unless you actually have an active purpose to basically, as you say, shoot the shit. That's fine too. But at the same time, anything that goes outside of that camaraderie, why would you want to keep it on there if it's stagnant? Because that energy builds and builds and builds. And as I showed him when he used Block Party to get rid of a bunch of groups on Facebook and a bunch of people on Facebook that weren't needed anymore, and the energy cleared up, that does that for everybody. But the ones that can feel it more so.
So really, that's a great point to put up, because again, people feel obligated that if they join certain groups and certain things, that they got to add all of these people, that they have to add all of these people and all of these members in. And then that is a huge amount. So again, some way, there's no way you can keep up with all of that, nor would you actually probably want to. So it is interesting to bring up to try and find the balance of, either minimizing your time on it, choosing, really going through it, maybe choosing only to truly seek posts from certain people, again, and think of things like that, because again, of the effect that it has on you. I think that's a really good point you brought up. So my other question really has to go, again, the other parts of my question were, is there a revving up of this somehow, and or something with the earth grid energies or electromagnetic field that's changing, that's allowing some of this to seep in better? Is any of that going on?
Yes, correct on both counts, because yes, the volume is being revved up, but I do wish to make a point about the earth energies. Yes, that some things are changing, but they've been changing for thousands of years now. And it's not just this big event. Granted, are the galactics out there trying to slow drip a transformation place with the terraforming tech? Yeah, to bring it to more of a tropical status. Yes, they're trying to complete what the original, the great seeding technology once was aiming at. But at this point in time, I will say, is there this big event coming that everybody's going to be in wow with the Earth? No. Is there this big Kali Yuga? Yes and no. Are there changes taking place that are natural changes but being slowed a little bit? Yes. Is there warming taking place? Yes, but it's not this humongous global warming that's taking place. There's actually some tampering going on to make it look worse than it actually is. But with that said, like with your harmonic convergence and, the train has just left the station. He even heard this phrase recently on Facebook. The train has just left the station. You know how many times that phrase has been said since the middle of the 1990s? This train has just left the station. Even his own mother himself said it back in the 97 snowstorm. I heard it. So, because thinking, this massive snowstorm came in because now that was the beginning of the earth changes. Wrong. It is... it's been a process rolling and rolling along, even though some things have been artificially induced or artificially quelled. Now, the energies, they become more chaotic because they're turning the volume up with the mouth and the psionic dampening and all this garbage right now. They go whoop, and plug it up. And you see that scene in Back to the Future where they go whoop, and turn up the volume. Also, the timelines are shifting a little bit more rapidly. That's why people think things are moving faster, when it's really timelines. You're jumping timelines more quickly because the branches are coming closer together. You see, it's this. It's not going to be this big event. It's not going to be this harmonic convergence. It is, well, I know this sounds cliche, but it is what it is. Also, it's based on what people are co-creating and where you happen to be as an individual, but also as a group. Where people think, there's this big event taking place, you have to create. If you want a Renaissance period, you have to create it. It's not just going to pop up because it was prophesied to. If you truly want a Renaissance period, you have to create this. If you want this volume to lower, you have to seek and acknowledge this information. You must have it roll around in your head, and not as a mouth or an eyeball. That's not what I'm saying. You must process this as quick as you can, and then you have to mirror this back if you want this stuff to stop. And also because, as he says, it's hurting people that you do not know. It's hurting people with also creepy thoughts that this is out there. They've raised that volume, and in specific countries, like, say, parts of Europe, England, all these, they've raised this volume. It's also the thought forms of people are being enhanced through the mouth and through your 5G network because it's a psionic, and not only a psionic dampener, it's a psionic enhancer. And it makes people's life a living hell that are extremely psionically sensitive. And then when they notice things, they're getting hit the most because they have their heads above the clouds. Think of this as the tripwire, also cobwebs, he likes to call it too. You stick your head above that, you're going to get targeted more. And you can't backtrack from that as much as you would like to be able to. People believe they can backtrack from that. They can't. You can ground it and balance it. But once you've left the genie out of the bottle, they like to say, put the genie back in the bottle. That's impossible. This is why those military out there, they keep trying to dumb people after they've already, well, you say awakened, but that's not the right term. It's more like processed. Once you've had this catharsis, there is no going back from this. If you're able to backtrack, you haven't completed the process. You haven't gone through it. And you think it's all going to be love and light, when in fact, your oversoul, you, and all of us not only agreed to some of it, but it's not going to be this love and light process. It could be for your highest good, but what's that look like? It may look like a road of glass shards, not a bed of roses, as your Freddie Mercury would say. This is something he experienced. This is something I've experienced. This is something all of y'all have experienced. But just know that when I say there may be a revelation coming, and I don't mean in the biblical sense, I mean on an interpersonal sense, you will find that this mouth is responsible for quite a bit. You'll find, not giving it power or anything like that, not to be in fear of it, but co-created out of existence, uncreated. As you learned at your fair, that also when you were listening to some of the lectures, like Miles Johnson said, he said, uncreate their destiny or uncreate their path. I couldn't have said it better myself. Uncreate what they are doing. The more of you come to the realizations, you don't have to have this high psionic capability to pull this off, folks. There's already enhancers in place. It's like that Doctor Who thing, that episode where there were psionic enhancers put in place, and that's how Martha got everybody to pray for the doctor, and he healed because their psionic field was being enhanced when the master did it to him. This is the same concept I'm talking about. Though they were advertising what was in place, they even showed spheres. There's spheres inside of satellites. Ancient tech mixed with new, merging with it. Tech that's been there a while. So, when I say a while, I mean a while. But it's nothing new that the Martian Germans and them tried to imply, because it was based on technology from the time of the not only the Great Seeding, but also the Ragnarok. So, 500,000 years or so. With this, then, people can literally co-create en masse exactly what they want. I'm not saying let live and let God or any of those things, or surrendering to the flow. But if you're in your own way, end that. Allow something to flow to the next thing. Sometimes it's a very obvious answer that you will not cross that line because either of a belief system or with some kind of bias in place, some kind of restriction you've put on yourself. This is what's allowing the mouth to constantly do this. Usually the simplest explanation is usually the right one. So I would say, if there's something in the self, correct it. If it's coming from an external source, like some of the creepy thoughts and everything, then that is not you. If you're having these creepy, like incestuous thoughts or pedophilic thoughts or anything like that, that is the mouth through and through. It's actually, sometimes it'll mimic other sources. Sometimes those beings will be the ones using it as a bullhorn or having their own bullhorn attached to their head. They might as well have a big penis attached to their forehead, but that's what it looks like. It's a crystal right there. And good beings use this via communication arcs or implants in the home where they can wear a hologram and communicate with people. Usually, like your Billy Myers study, it was more of a Pleiadian group that was doing it. Multitudes of groups use that same tech. It's been traded around. About the size of a head of a pin, it can be placed in a house, and those beings can then show up and talk to you. It would look like a physical form. That has happened on multitudes of occasions where they've walked the streets too. And sometimes physically too. And this was recent too. You guys did not know about this, or a lot of you listening did not know about this. But the point I'm trying to make is, yes, the volume is rising, like the song said. But how are you going to deal with a raised volume? How are you going to deal with the raised volumes of others? Are you going to block? Are you going to help them through it? Are you going to do elements of both, which would be the smartest move? Block those that will not adhere to the restrictions, but know that some of those may not be able to be blocked because it's the reverse. This is what I can say to also the general public, because this is actually a growing problem or an epidemic or pandemic, let's say. And then it also has become systemic to where it's gotten entrenched. It's a belief that you must always give and give and give and give of yourself. That is systemic. And the reason I went into the rhyming game here is because repetition then leads to growth. Repetition then leads to recognition. So that's where I'll shut up.
Well, thanks. So to the last part of the question, I don't know, it gets very difficult to me to believe because kind of my feeling is we're getting into torture a little bit.
It is very much torture, yes.
Okay, so I just have to believe that,
repetition can equal torture too, yes.
Right, and so, the Chinese water torture, drip, 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 constantly.
That's how it's hitting you, it's exactly it.
Right.
Through a cord, or like the ninja used to run poison along a thread kind of thing, that's what's happening, or a puppet string as he calls it.
So we've had to acknowledge that almost everything going on is a part of galactic agreements.
Yes.
So I cannot believe that somehow, somewhere, if we're saying that we know this is happening and we know what we're doing and they know that they're torturing us and we know that all this is whatever, that there isn't something that's being violated right now. So I really want to talk about that.
Oh, you bet there is something being violated. A whole lot of violations going on. But you're dealing with powers that have equal capabilities to one another. Say if some law enforcement came across or soldiers came across a bad guy who had equal capability to them. How would that be handled if they got into a firefight with one another? There's people dying on both sides, like in a war. Then there's people getting injured on both sides. Say if you had a rule breaker out there in the galaxy, and this is occurring currently. Say if you had some rule breakers that had equal power and capability to that of GF like law enforcement or to other areas of law enforcement out there in the galaxy. You'd think they would have a tough time with that. People like to say, why is this being allowed? And I know what they truly mean. They truly mean, why is the true benevolent source creator allowing this? I'm going to throw a knowledge bomb at people. There's no, and he's said this too, and you guys have said this in Q&A a couple of times, but I'll reiterate. There's no such thing as universal law. There never has been any such thing as universal law that was written by your three-letter agencies, and I'm not trying to give them too much power, but if the shoe fits. Thank you, CIA, for such a torturous, wonderful time there. But like your Section 31, that whole garbage. There is no such thing as universal law, because this got people to believe that some force was going to come in and clean this up. There is laws of nature that allow the earth to heal in cases of natural disaster, or sometimes extincting a species or extincting a population or something like an immune system kind of thing. Laws of nature in the galaxy allow things to rebalance, like you saw in Endgame, where people were gone and Captain America says, "Oh, now there's whales in the Hudson because the water was cleaning itself," kind of thing. So Thanos wasn't 100% wrong in his assessment, even though that was a Kabbalist viewpoint, taking out half the population. So in accordance with nature, that's Cabal, by the way. But there was one truth to it, that it did work. But no such thing as universal law. And I have to keep reiterating this because of the fact that people have depended so heavily. Well, they're in violation of universal law. Who did you think was enforcing this? Yes, this group is in violation. That would mean every evil act is in violation of some law somewhere. Yes, of course. There's other laws in other cultures and earth laws that they're violating. You have to create these laws. If you don't want these beings doing it, you must co-create this. No alliance is out there saving you. They can barely wipe their own ass. The white hat types. Or the ones you call white hats. Some of them don't give a shit about you. They just give a shit about aiming at their opponent, like your political parties do, by the way. Like you're blue on red, red on blue. They're only caring what Trump thinks, and these other guys care what Kamala thinks, all that shit. There are some that care deeply for you, but they can't do a whole lot because they're in equal power to someone else. And factions all over the globe with different signets and different symbols and such, uniforms and all this. Some military, some are lower grade, some are higher grade, some become factions, all this other crap. Watch the babbling episode. He talked about how him and I got rid of some military out of your guys' house that one time. That was actually quite humorous and also quite an accomplishment on my part, I must add. But in this, back to the universal law thing, before I get too on a tangent. There's been several other operations like that, by the way. In this, the whole concept of universal law was trying to get people to separate from themselves and not clean up their own environment. Now is there a means where a culture won't circle a toilet forever? Absolutely. It is not allowed. Those are the laws of nature. There's not going to be something corrupted forever, never, never, never. This is a true concept. It doesn't mean that there's some part of God out there that is not allowing this. And I must reiterate this. You say true benevolent source creator, dark creator, neutral creator. And yes, there are negative photocopies out there, like what came from the Orion's universe. But it was still creator. And it's less light. It's not like black, white, gray, like in Star Wars. It is light, less light. In this also, that since creator is everything, what do you think it's going to be enforcing crap against itself? That sounds a little weird or schizophrenic, doesn't it? In your situation, yes, everything is all one, like you say. But, and other people believe there are expressions of creator experiencing itself. Yeah, I can't exactly completely argue with that. There's more to the concept that people won't be able to quantify at the moment. But in this instance, if you expect benevolent source creator to constantly churn up the waters a little bit and dig up from what's underneath, no, that is on you, since you are a part of that energy. He's basically, he says, helicopter pilot is oversoul, avatar on the ground is leading the way so that that energy can connect. Like what he said about the altars thing with somebody. You tell the avatar there's processing or catharsis that takes place, and then the oversoul can then help process this or process the information coming from Midgard here. You see, that's the oversoul fixing that within the multiverse of madness. Let's just put it that way. And Doctor Strange has been mentioned, so why not? In this is the way that's being done. That audit is being done. It's on ground level, not out there. So what happens? You have to correct what happens here. You have to retake your planet, your world. In this instance, of planet. In this instance, it's both planet and world. It's continent and country, but with the introverse dimensions and all that stuff. But in this instance, You're not going to all of a sudden be in Kumbaya planet because universal law has been invoked. You're invoking a ghost. There is nothing there to invoke. So when it said, well, this is in violation of universal law, by whose standards? That's like with the Ten Commandments. By whose standards, by whose law are you violating? In that case, it was wrong way, no way, Yahweh. I'm just saying it's a basically no gods before me. No, you can't have sex with multiple people. The restrictions like that shit. That's Enlil's deal. That's his fetish. Whatever. Meaning it's an insurmountable list. Heart and a feather, same difference. Him, meaning it's impossible to have your heart lighter than a feather. I know it's supposed to be symbolic, but you get the idea. But there's no such thing as this. There's have and have not. There is elitist and serfs. There is an idea that somebody should rule over and lord over people.
And there are contractual agreements, because again, to get back to what I originally asked, I appreciate the fact that you needed to talk a little bit about universal law. That is not what I was bringing up, by the way, that we do have an understanding that there are contractual agreements between
groups, yes.
Yes, between, worlds with the Galactic Federation.
Those are the treaties that prevent whatever they feel is what downslide is going to happen if, God forbid, they should violate one.
Right.
Yes.
Those types of things exist, but this overarching universal law that governs all of it does not. And so you have your actual treaties and different things that have been put together. I think what my point really was about is that I cannot see and the acceptance of within these treaties that something like what's happening, which is considered a torture, is allowed to be done to your species, let's say. They've agreed maybe to abductions, they've agreed to different things, but an actual torture situation.
That's contracts between factions. That's your yield at work. Valiant Thor has done his fair share, as you know, of in the 100 Years Disclosure, crapola, but you get it.
So in order for us to empower ourselves, because if I've heard you correctly, you do agree that this type of what's going on to this level is not okay, and it's not even contractually okay. If I've heard you correctly.
It's not contractually okay, and it's not ethically okay.
Correct.
And morally okay.
Right. So the interesting thing about taking your power back, what I've heard saying about this stuff is that auditory, push it back, seeing something, stab it in the eye, whatever. But the point of all of this is to not accept it, to say absolutely no. So my question is this: is there anything to it, if people know this, that they can send a telepathic email to, who would you send a telepathic email to, basically, with intention to say, I'm raising this flag that this is going wrong. It is not acceptable. It should not be acceptable. It cannot be allowed to continue. And we are going to flood your box, like we say, writing the White House. Now we're going to flood your inbox with this because you need to actually look at it. Where would you send that type of telepathic communication to?
I would say the telepathic communication to, are you referring like a god or a benevolent source creator or anything like that?
I think it's a court system. Where does it go to?
Oh, that's actually a good topic. I will divert for 1 second. There is no court system by which you send that to.
Okay.
They always say the court of spiritual equity and all that crap. No. You have the guardianship that deals with some of the stuff like that. That's the guardianship of the void people you talk to. That's the closest you're going to get to that. There's also the courts system and within the Galactic Federation. That's where people are getting this idea from, is a mix between both of those. There is no spiritual court of equity that is going to audit all this. Again, you are the auditors of this. Now, if you wanted to actually send a request out there or a cry for help, I suppose benevolent source creator, like some people always have, just know that the way it shows up, or benevolent spirit for help, or your benevolent soul family for help, the way it shows up is what you call synchronicities. It's more connections, and they're helping you with path. Or there are ETs out there that participate that people call angelic. They'll telepathically warn you of danger and stuff like that. You'll run across them periodically, or they'll be around to actually help you. But if you say true benevolence with no conflicting agendas, or if you say you're needing true benevolent assistance, that's usually good enough with that. You'll get who is needed for the moment. If you have the eyes to see, you might notice them around. Or if you have the ears to hear, you might hear the message. And avoiding all false synchronicities that are out there from the AI, the mouth, and all of this. True spirit connection will be immediate, and you will know. You will know when you've gotten the right target, gotten the right person, like when he's connecting two different beings from the force field to me, to Chrome, to anybody. Or Valiant Thor. To a lesser extent, Valiant Thor. I'm kidding because he hears this. But just know his name was mentioned earlier, so why not? In this, just know you are being heard. And those that are of a balanced nature will not be upset that they're having to help you. And I will repeat this. If they're showing up upset, that means they got pinged. So you don't want to ping with your just true benevolence with no conflicting agendas. You won't ping anyone. It'll disperse, and somebody will attempt to help. But just know, if they're running into equal forces, if somebody out there that's harassing you is of equal power to them, they're going to actually have a tough time dealing with it. Or if the oversoul has agreed to what Valiant Thor likes to say, called the cheese methodology, whereas those beings are being dealt with by having their contracts stripped of them via Valiant Thor's little creative thing with the Galactic Federation. Whereas, I'll explain briefly, whereas they will get taken away in cuffs, so to speak, and literal, by violating or having all their contracts stripped from them. And that's happened quite a bit over the years, at least 1,000 times or more. Just know if an oversoul has agreed to this, or an avatar did in hidden times, like a project or something of that nature, it does happen periodically. It may slow down to a crawl, but it doesn't stop until at the end of a certain contractual period. People call these soul contracts, but those do not exist. That sounds more like a soul business dealing or soul mission. Yes, that does take place, but they're not so arduous in name. It's just more like you came in to correct something, do something, even with multiple avatars, and then you're done. Some people call it contract. Well, they were probably in the SSP or something when you hear contract, or the New Age community did things in like business sounding deals. Soul contract, business dealing. You signed this. That sounds like a Faustian contract to me, or like Faust and or like Dante's Inferno or some crap like that. Very dramatic, but you don't need to be. But with this said, again, I will narrow it down. True benevolent, source creator, true benevolence with no conflicting agendas, as you said. Some people have even argued there's no such thing as true benevolence. Yes, there is. I will argue the contrary. Just because we say that source creator or creator is everything, but you still have to say true benevolent source creator, then you get that energy. But if you're needing outside assistance after you've done all that you need to do, just know that help may not take the form you are expecting. Or it may, depending on the situation with said beings, depending on the situation with said assailant, etc.
Right. So example, to kind of recap, you push the noise away. You send it back to where it is coming.
Yep.
And you have to have the
That hurts them immensely.
Well, I think the thing is that people do not have the confidence that they can do that. So you have to be doing this and visualizing this in a way that there is no other option. It is being sent back. You have to have that kind of confidence as you're learning these skills. If you're seeing things, as something comes to you, like he was saying, as an eyeball, you basically are just going to stab it to end it, and basically, push that back as well. You have to see it. You have to see it working for one and one only reason, because you said so. There is no other exception. There is no other if. It is not done with a question mark. It is. And that's how you build these muscles and these skills. So you have to be able to do that. But I do agree in these times that there are going to be moments where you're working on building that muscle, let's say, and you may need assistance from true benevolent creator with no conflicting agendas. Also, hopefully, your perceived higher self is paying attention right now and may also need to kind of step in and again, let you be successful at what you're doing so you will still work that muscle to be able to push these things back. It's very...
Oh, yes, there's teaching methods in this as well, but some go overboard, like your GF testers and people like that.
Right.
You know,
and you may need assistance at that time. But what I think
and with the creepy thoughts and all that, that's horrible. Yeah.
It's horrible. And again, I guess when I envision it, and if you're pushing it back, again, yes, it's there. It may still be trying to hit you, but you can push it back to a level that you're not hearing it and keep that up. Keep, like we say when you're putting on your armor, right? Basically, are you wanting that to come through your armor? Then say no. Things like that are not allowed to come through my energetic armor. They're not allowed. They will be pushed back and pushed back with a greater force probably than what's coming to you. That's what I like to add. It is going back. You want to know what it feels like? I am sending it back to you 20-fold until it becomes so uncomfortable for the person who's doing it that they're going to want to stop because they don't like it, just like others don't like to receive it. So, I can't put that out in conversation strong enough. That is not you being ugly. That is not. You have to defend your sacred space for yourself, and you shouldn't be invaded all the time. I dare to say we've had this conversation many times and will continue to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what is you so that you know what is not you.
Yes.
And it happens all the time still.
Mm-hmm. I'm even putting that scene from Spaceballs in his head with Lone Star with the mirror getting dark helmet in the crotch thing. That's exactly what you're doing to the other end, by the way. You're
Right.
getting them in the nads really hardly and in the face really hard.
Right. And sometimes, again, things are not going to stop till they feel the pain greatly themselves. And again, I don't care what anybody thinks of it. I will defend, my space. We will openly talk about the scenarios, and then people need to show respect. Those that don't show respect usually have no intention of it, and you really have to push that back even harder.
And you push it back even harder. And also that same scene, what happened? Dark Helmet hits the self-destruct button. On the whole big Mega Man thing. I use movie references with him because these are the more humorous things. I use the more humorous things because that's the point I'm trying to make. They will literally self-destruct and back into their own button if you keep doing it. And if they see enough of their forces self-destructing as a result, they will stop. They might be to the last breath, but if you punch the wind out of them, they're going to knock it off after a while.
Right.
And they'll get hit with equal force what they're being put out. They're going to go, no, this is a waste of our resources. But you actually have to show them that you are wasting their resources. They don't believe they are. They believe that they have an infinite amount of resources. They are arrogant as piss at times. Some of the human versions are so far removed from you, you wouldn't even recognize them as humanity. Maybe in look, but not in attitude. This has to be realized as well.
So I hope, I'll give you any last words, and I really hope, for the people who needed to hear this, that you've really taken away maybe some more information you need to know.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I don't have any final words for this episode too much other than what I've said before. Also, I guess a little bit, just know that if you ping us too much, we do feel it. He learned this earlier on. He learned not to do it. And yes, it's from experience, but do not do it to other people. Do not do it to other than through true benevolence with no conflicting agendas. When you do that, it just cycles around. It's like putting how can I put it? An automated call out there, and it gets anybody that is meant to be around. Him and Richie discovered this with a bear species they ran into recently, that they were also answering the call. This is why some of these other species are showing up. You don't recognize it as the help because you feel they're wanting to talk about their race. That's the second reason they're there. They're actually there to help. you may not recognize that because people have a set thing in their head as to what that help looks like. They think it is, so like Jesus or some angel with a sword or some of that propagandic bullshit that was put out there, like defender of the earth. I'm the brat and I have to have my say as the king of all creation. No, 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 no. He created that crap. No, you won't recognize the help when it comes, but accept it graciously, no matter what form it takes, and recognizing that it is help. Sometimes the road of glass shards is also the help so that you know how to get out of something. But if you've already gone through that a number of times and something is still going on, either A, you're not recognizing what you just accomplished and you're repeating things yourself, that something's already happened, you're putting it on the wash, rinse, repeat, or self-farming, or there's something trying to reattach that to you constantly. Just know if something repeats, it takes two to tango a lot of times. So I will detach now. Thank you. All right. Yeah, that was interesting. And the reason they also make people laugh like that is to actually bring the vibe up just a little bit so you have more of a strength to actually do it. It may sound retarded, but at the same time, this is getting the point across. And that's the object of the exercise, and the fact that you're building that energy up to be able to combat with this. The way you beat a lot of that negative ideology, like he says, is through making fun of them and making them laugh. Basically, since Darth Vader was based on the Nazi regime, and then you had like Klaus Schwab types and stuff like that, and then you had Dark Helmet that was the parody of that, making them look stupid. That's the whole premise of it. So you can thank Mel Brooks for that one. And making the whole Nazi thing look dumb. And I always say that's why I called the commandant and the lieutenant in the secret space program Hans and Franz. I made them look stupid. So I wrote them down in my book as that. So I suggest that with all people that run into situations like that, make them look dumb. Joanna, I don't know if you have anything else to add to this.
That's it.
So, to recap, please follow the procedures that we mentioned. If I sounded irritated, I most definitely am irritated at this because it does hurt when that happens. And I'm not saying this to be kind of a wuss or be indignant or anything like that, or inconsiderate or anything of that nature. It is what it is. It does sting. I will say this. So, this is why my face looks the way it does at the moment with my eyes the way they do. It's the same thing. So thank you for watching this episode. I'm going to actually see if I can bump this to the top of the list a little bit and have this also on the website up front and center, and say, please, this is more of a required watch on there next to the intro. So now I close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.